Another way to include CSS on your pages is by using the link tag. The link tag connects your page with an outside style sheet, and that means that it is a separate file that looks something like this. To set this up, what you do is create a link tag with a relation of style sheet and an href of the location of the document, and then that style sheet will affect every single document linked to it. When you're using the link tag, remember not to use the style tags inside the separate CSS file. Any page linked to the style document will take advantage of the style rules in your CSS file. You want to put the link to the style sheets inside the head tags so that the CSS will load before the content of your page. Let's take a look at an example. So we have the same kind of page that we've been working on, except we've added an images folder with the background image, as well as a mystyles.css file that right now is completely empty. So the first thing we need to do is link this file to the mystyle.css document. And again, we do that with the link tag. The relation is going to be style sheet, and the href will be the location of the style sheet. So mystyle.css is what I've called our file, and this type can be text/CSS, or if you want to, you could just get rid of it. So now these should be linked together. So when I create a style in this page, it should affect my index.html document. What I always do to test this out is just do a quick little style. So I'll change the body tag to be a background color of red, and I know now that these are working properly. They're linking properly because it's showing me what I'm doing here. So now I can go ahead and put whatever I want. So let's go ahead and add the background again, and this time we're going to add a URL, and we'll link it to our image, which is in the images folder, and then it's called background.jpg. Now you can see that the image is right there. If you were to see this file, you'll notice that it's not repeating. We can fix that if you take out this no repeat section on left top. So there's actually quite a few parameters that you can include on the background, and you can do them all in the background tag, or you can do them separately. So for example, we could say background image and just put the URL of the image, which will be images, background.jpg. And by default, this will be repeating over and over. As you can see the little seam right here, because it's repeating. So we can add a number of other attributes like background repeat and say no repeat, or just repeat in a certain direction. So if we say no repeat, it's just not going to repeat at all, horizontally or vertically. So you can also say, instead of no repeat, repeat X or repeat Y. You can also add a background position, and that can be something like center, and center if you want to center the image to the middle of the content. Notice that it's not the middle of the screen, it's the middle of the available content, so that's why it's repeating. So what we could do here is just use the combo. We'll use the combo again. We'll just use the background property, and we'll type in no repeat, no repeat. We'll link it to our image. And we'll add a parameter called fixed here. So fix will make sure that, we'll go ahead and center these, center and center. Fix will make sure that this is aligning to the center of the screen. So if I make this smaller or bigger, it's always going to be aligned to the center of the screen. Now let me do one more thing. And what I want to add here is the background size. And this is kind of a newer attribute, and to put in cover. And what that will do is it'll make the image resize to the size of my page. So you can see that as I make it bigger and smaller, it covers the entire width of the screen, and that looks pretty cool. So let's go ahead and make that smaller. The next thing I want to show you is how to include other fonts. Now, the easiest way to include other fonts is to use something called Google Web Fonts. And you can go to this URL, and here you can type in the name of the font if you already know what the font is, or go by categories and choose just a specific category. Like if we only want display typefaces, or typefaces that'll be good for headlines, you can put that in. And then you find the typeface that you want to use. So let's see if we can pick something good. We'll try this Chango font right here. And when we find a font that we want to use, we hit Add to Collection. If we want to, we can keep on adding things to the collection. But once we've got something we like, then we can hit this Use button. and then scroll down here and it'll give us a piece of code. Notice that this is a link tag just to a Google website that has that font. So it's exactly like the link tag that we used before to add an external style sheet, but it's going to add the font for us automatically. So let's go back here and we will add the font to our index file, not our style sheet, right before this other link tag. So we'll paste that right there. So we've got a link to the font, and then we have our link to our style sheet. Now this font is called Chango. It's only one word. Occasionally you'll see a font that has like a plus sign and then something else. Chango, say Chango Heavy. Just remember that when you want to use that font, you have to put a space instead of a plus in the CSS. So I'm going to show you how that works in just a minute. But just remember right now we need the font Chango. So we'll go save this, go into my style sheet, and I will change the font of the headline level 1 tag. So I'll say font family, and I'll use Chango as the font. You can see the font comes right in. So that'll work with any other font that you want to use that's a custom font. Now, if this were a font with 2 words in it, so say Chango Heavy, not that we have a font like that, but if it were, then what you want to do is put it in quotes. And you also probably want to put some backup fonts. So when you do this, you could say something like Arial Black, and then you would put that in quotes as well as a backup. So just in case somebody doesn't have this font, then it'll start using this font and then put some other ones in there. So you usually put something like Helvetica, Arial, because it's sort of like a sans serif font. And then if nobody has any of those, then you put sans serif. And what that does is it'll go through the list of available fonts on that machine. If the user doesn't have those, then it'll go to one of these other alternatives or just go to a default sans serif. I'm going to delete the word heavy because it's not a real font, and then it'll go just to Chango. And I don't need the quotes if it's just one word, so we'll take care of that.